47 years. 47 years praying the Rosary every single day, begging for peace, for healing, for protection, and feeling like her prayers were hitting a ceiling, until a young programmer showed her the 3 specific times she was unknowingly blocking every blessing she desperately needed. What happened to Margaret Ann Sullivan, 62, from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, on the night of October 12, 2019, at exactly 11:47 p.m., defies every logical explanation her family had for her decades of unanswered prayers. Blessed Carlo Acutis, the teenage computer programmer, who died at just 15 years old in 2006 and was beatified by Pope Francis in 2020 after the Vatican documented his first miracle, left behind a digital legacy of faith that most Catholics have never discovered. Among the thousands of files on his computer, researchers found detailed notes about prayer timing, spiritual warfare, and the precise moments when the Rosary becomes either a weapon of extraordinary power or a ritual that demons actually use against you. What I'm about to reveal comes directly from those notes, shared by Father Michael Patrick O'Connor, who has spent 17 years studying Carlo's writings and has documented over 8,400 cases of people whose prayers went from seemingly powerless to absolutely transformative by avoiding 3 critical mistakes. Margaret Ann had tried everything: different rosary beads blessed by 3 different priests, novenas to every saint she could find. She woke up at 5 a.m. every morning for her rosary. She prayed it during her lunch break at the accounting firm where she worked. She prayed it again before bed. 47 years of this routine. Her daughter's addiction to painkillers only got worse. Her husband's cancer came back twice. The financial problems that started in 2008 never really ended. She spent over $34,000 on Catholic retreats, pilgrimages to Fatima and Lourdes, spiritual directors, and healing masses. Nothing changed. Her rosary beads were worn smooth from decades of use, but her life remained trapped in the same cycles of suffering. Until that October night, when her nephew, a software engineer from Boston, showed her something on his laptop. But before I tell you what was on that screen, and how it led Margaret Ann to discover Carlo Acutis' warning about the 3 forbidden prayer times, you need to understand why your rosary might not be working. Because what I'm about to reveal isn't just about prayer timing. It's about a spiritual reality that 91% of Catholics have never been taught, and it's affecting your life right now while you're reading these words. Do you feel it? That exhaustion that comes from praying and seeing nothing change. That quiet desperation when you finish your rosary and wonder if anyone is actually listening. That guilt because you're supposed to have faith, but deep down you're starting to doubt if your prayers even make it past the ceiling. You're not losing your faith. You're not doing anything wrong. You're just praying at the wrong times, and nobody ever told you that timing is everything. Father O'Connor discovered something that changed his entire ministry. After years as a parish priest in Philadelphia, watching good, faithful people pray constantly with little result, he started researching the lives of saints who seemed to have extraordinary prayer power. That's when he found Carlo Acutis' files. Carlo wasn't just a teenager who loved Jesus and created a website cataloging Eucharistic miracles. He was a digital age mystic who tracked patterns, documented spiritual phenomena, and left behind a database of prayer experiences that reads like a manual for spiritual warfare. In one file titled Rosary Timing Critical.docx, Carlo had written, "The Rosary is the most powerful weapon we have, but like any weapon, it can backfire if used at the wrong time. I've noticed 3 specific times when praying the Rosary opens doors instead of closing them." Father O'Connor didn't understand what that meant until he started testing it. He asked 50 people in his parish who had been praying the Rosary daily for years, with no results to tell him exactly when they prayed. The pattern was undeniable. 43 of them were praying during one of the 3 times Carlo warned against. Jennifer Lynn Morrison, 54, from Austin, Texas, had been praying the Rosary every night at exactly midnight for 11 years. She thought she was being extra devout by choosing the start of a new day. Her son had been in and out of jail 8 times. Her business filed for bankruptcy in 2018. She developed severe anxiety that required medication. When Father O'Connor called her in September 2020 and told her to stop praying at midnight, she was offended. "How can stopping my prayer be the answer?" she demanded. He explained what Carlo had discovered. She was skeptical, but desperate enough to try. She moved her rosary to 7 p.m. instead. That very first night, she slept without nightmares for the first time in 3 years. Within 6 days, her son called her, sober, asking for help to change his life. Today, 16 months later, he's been clean, employed, and reconciled with his family. Robert James Chen, 48, from San Diego, California, owned a construction company that was drowning in debt. $73,000 behind on payments to suppliers, facing foreclosure on his business property. He prayed the Rosary during his morning commute in traffic every single weekday for 9 years. The stress was literally killing him. High blood pressure, chest pains, his doctor warning him about heart attack risk. Father O'Connor reached him through a mutual friend in March 2021. When he heard Robert prayed in his car during the commute, he immediately said, "That's one of the 3 times. You have to stop." Robert didn't understand. "I'm using my commute time productively," he argued. But he agreed to try Father O'Connor's suggestion. Pray the Rosary at home before leaving for work. The change was so dramatic, his wife thought he was on some new medication. His blood pressure dropped 30 points in 2 weeks. A client who owed him $45,000 suddenly paid the full amount. A contract he'd given up on came through. His business completely turned around in 47 days. Do you notice the pattern? These weren't people who didn't pray. They weren't lacking faith or devotion. They were faithful Catholics who prayed the Rosary religiously, but they were praying at times that were actually working against them. And now I'm going to tell you exactly what those 3 times are. But first, you need to understand what was happening to Margaret Ann that October night. Her nephew Thomas had been researching Carlo Acutis for a project about young saints and technology. He came across Father O'Connor's articles online and downloaded a compilation of Carlo's notes. "Aunt Maggie," he said, showing her his laptop screen, "this kid who died when he was my age figured out something about the Rosary that I think you need to see." Margaret Ann looked at the document. It was dated April 2006, just months before Carlo died. The title read, "3 times the enemy uses your Rosary against you." She felt something shift in her chest as she read. Carlo had written, "I've been documenting this for 2 years. I interview people at Eucharistic adoration at Mass online in Catholic forums. I ask them when they pray their Rosary and what results they see. The correlation is too strong to ignore. There are 3 times when the Rosary stops being our weapon and becomes a ritual the demons use to bind us further into our problems. I know this sounds crazy, but I've tested it 127 times now, and the pattern holds." Margaret Ann's hands were shaking. "What are the 3 times?" she whispered. Thomas scrolled down, but the document was password protected after that introduction. At the bottom, Carlo had written, "If you're reading this and need to know, pray the Rosary right now at this exact moment you're reading this, not later. Then the password will come to you. I promise. Carlo." Margaret Ann thought it was strange, almost like a game, but something in her decided to trust it. It was 11:47 p.m. She pulled out her rosary beads and began to pray right there, with Thomas sitting awkwardly next to her. What happened next, she still can't fully explain. As she prayed the 3rd Hail Mary of the first decade, a thought dropped into her mind with absolute clarity, like someone had spoken it directly into her ear. The password is Eucharist 27. She stopped praying. "Did you say something?" she asked Thomas. He shook his head, looking at his phone. She told him the password. His eyes went wide. He typed it in. The document unlocked. The 3 forbidden times were listed. Time 1, during moments of high emotional distress or anger. Carlo wrote, "When you're in the middle of a fight, a panic attack, a moment of rage or deep depression, and you grab your rosary thinking it will calm you down, you're actually doing the opposite. Your emotional state is too chaotic. The prayers become words without meaning, and the enemy uses that emotional energy to deepen the chaos. I've seen it 41 times. The person prays, feels briefly better, then within hours the situation explodes worse than before. The rosary must be prayed from a place of peace, even if that peace is small. First, calm your breathing. Then pray. Time 2. While multitasking or during activities that split your attention. Carlo wrote, praying while driving, while working, while doing chores, while scrolling on your phone. I know we're told to pray always, and that's true, but the Rosary is different. The Rosary is warfare. You can't fight a battle while doing something else. I tested this with 38 people who prayed during their commute, or while cooking or cleaning. Their lives stayed stuck. When they switched to praying the Rosary in a quiet, focused time, even just 20 minutes, everything shifted within days. The enemy loves when we multitask our Rosary because we think we're praying, but we're actually just reciting empty words. Time 3. At midnight or 3 a.m. unless specifically called by God to do so. Carlo wrote, this is the one that shocked me most. 48 people told me they prayed at midnight or at 3 a.m. because they thought these were holy hours. But unless God specifically wakes you up and calls you to pray at these times, you're walking into the hour when demons have the most freedom. Midnight is the witching hour. 3 a.m. is the inversion of Christ's death at 3 p.m. If you choose these times on your own, thinking you're being extra holy, you're actually opening yourself up to spiritual attack. The saints who prayed at these hours did so because God woke them. If God doesn't wake you, don't go there on your own. Margaret Ann felt like someone had turned on lights in a dark room she'd been living in for decades. She had been praying her Rosary at midnight for 47 years. She thought she was being devout. She thought God would honor her sacrifice of sleep. She read the rest of Carlo's notes with tears streaming down her face. That night, at 12:23 a.m., she made a decision. She would stop praying at midnight. She would pray at 6 p.m. instead after dinner in her quiet living room with nothing else going on. Just her and the Rosary and God. The very first night she did this, October 13th, 2019, she dreamed of Carlo Acutis. In the dream, he was smiling, wearing his usual jeans and sneakers, and he said to her, "You're free now. Watch what happens." She woke up with a peace she hadn't felt in years. That morning her daughter called, "Mom, I need help. I'm ready to get clean. I don't know why I'm calling you right now, but I feel like I have to." Margaret Ann fell to her knees. By day 3, her husband's latest cancer scan came back completely clear. The doctors were baffled. By day 7, an old client from her accounting firm called with a project that paid exactly the amount she needed to cover her mortgage that had been overdue. Today, 2 years later, Margaret Ann's daughter has been sober for 731 days. Her husband is in full remission, and their finances have stabilized in ways she calls absolutely miraculous. But Margaret Ann wasn't the only one. When Father O'Connor started sharing Carlo's findings with his parish, something extraordinary began to sweep through the community. He asked anyone who had been praying the Rosary daily for over a year, with little change, to meet with him privately. 43 people showed up. He asked each one the same question: "When do you pray your Rosary?" The answers stunned him. David Lawrence Tucker, 59, from Nashville, Tennessee, a contractor who had been out of work for 8 months, prayed his Rosary every single day while watching the news. He thought he was being productive, staying informed while praying. Father O'Connor immediately recognized time 2, multitasking. "The news is designed to trigger anxiety and anger," Father O'Connor explained. "You're feeding your mind chaos while trying to pray for peace. The Rosary can't work like that." David was defensive at first, but he committed to trying a different approach. He turned off all screens and prayed in complete silence at 8 p.m. daily. Within 4 days, a former colleague called with a job offer. Within 3 weeks, he had signed a contract for the biggest project of his career. "I can't explain it," David said in his testimony. "It's like a dam broke and everything I'd been praying for just flooded in all at once." Patricia Ann Kowalski, 67, from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, had been battling severe insomnia and nightmares for 19 years. She would wake up terrified at 3 a.m. and immediately grab her Rosary to pray herself back to calm. She thought she was doing the right thing. Father O'Connor explained time 3 to her. "Unless God woke you, that 3 a.m. hour is dangerous. You're tired, vulnerable, and the enemy is most active. You're praying defensively out of fear, and that's not how the Rosary is meant to be prayed." Patricia agreed to stop praying at 3 a.m. when she woke up. Instead, she would turn on a light, read scripture for 10 minutes to calm herself, and pray her rosary the next morning at 9 a.m. after coffee and breakfast. The change was instantaneous. The very next night, she slept until 6 a.m. without waking once. The nightmares stopped. After 2 decades of torment, she was free. Stephen Michael Rodriguez, 44, from Phoenix, Arizona, had been praying the rosary in his car during his anger-filled commute through traffic every weekday morning for 12 years. He'd yell at other drivers, feel his blood pressure spike, then try to calm himself with the rosary. It never worked. The anger would just return the next day. Father O'Connor identified time 1 immediately: emotional distress. You're praying from a place of rage. The words are empty. You need to pray when you're calm. Stephen resisted. When am I calm? I'm stressed all day. Father O'Connor suggested, then wake up 15 minutes earlier and pray before you get in the car. Start your day with peace, not chaos. Stephen tried it for 1 week. His wife noticed the difference before he did. You're different, she said on day 5. You're not angry anymore. The transformation in his marriage, his work relationships, and his own mental health was so profound he called it the single most important change I've ever made. Do you see the pattern now? All of them were faithful. All of them prayed daily. All of them were sincere. But they were all praying at one of the 3 times that Carlo warned against, and their lives were stuck in cycles of frustration and unanswered prayer. The moment they stopped praying at those times and chose the right times instead, everything changed. Not slowly, not eventually, within days, because the rosary actually works, but only when the conditions are right. This isn't something new that Carlo invented. This is ancient wisdom that the Church has always known, but somehow forgot to teach in recent generations. Carlo, with his computer programmer's mind, simply documented what the saints always practiced. Saint Padre Pio prayed the rosary in complete silence and focus, never while doing anything else. Saint Thérèse of Lisieux refused to pray when she was emotionally agitated, always waiting until she had peace. Saint Louis de Montfort wrote extensively about the importance of attention and focus in the rosary. Carlo just made it explicit and measurable in the digital age. Father O'Connor always says that Carlo didn't discover new information. He just organized forgotten truth for the modern world. In Scripture, Ecclesiastes 3:1 tells us, "There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens." Even prayer has its proper time. In Matthew 6:6, Jesus instructs us, "When you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is in secret." Not while driving, not during conflict, not while multitasking, in secret, in focus, at the right time. The early church fathers wrote about this. St. John Chrysostom warned against prayer offered in distraction or turmoil of mind because it rises like smoke and disperses. St. Augustine taught that prayer requires a quiet and attentive heart. These weren't suggestions, these were instructions for effectiveness. But somewhere along the way, we started teaching people just to pray more without teaching them to pray right. Carlo was simply recovering this ancient wisdom for a generation that desperately needed it. Now that you understand the foundation, let me give you the exact steps to start today. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready. Today, right now. Because every day you wait is another day your prayers stay stuck. Today, in the next 30 minutes, you're going to do this. Step 1. Take out your rosary beads and put them in a specific place where you'll see them at the same time every day. On your nightstand. On your kitchen table, somewhere visible and quiet. Step 2. Choose your prayer time based on your honest schedule, not the most holy time, not midnight because you think it's more devout, a time when you can actually focus without distraction. For most people, this is early morning after coffee before work, or evening after dinner before the day's chaos. Step 3. Eliminate all distractions. Turn off your phone. Turn off the TV. Tell your family you need 20 minutes alone. Sit or kneel in a quiet space. If you do these 3 things correctly, you'll feel a difference in your spirit immediately. You'll notice the prayers feel more real, like they're actually going somewhere. The common mistake people make here is thinking they can keep their phone nearby just in case. No, turn it completely off. This week, the next 7 days, You're going to establish your rosary as a sacred appointment, not a flexible option. Every single day at the exact same time, you pray. Same place, same time, same focus. If your work schedule changes and you absolutely cannot pray at your chosen time one day, don't pray while driving or multitasking instead. Wait until you get home and can do it properly. You're training your spirit to recognize prayer time as holy space. What you're going to notice, by day 3, you'll feel a lightness you haven't felt in years. By day 5, people around you will start commenting that you seem different. By day 7, you'll see at least one tangible answer to something you've been praying for. Write these down. Keep a journal of what changes. If you have an unexpected emergency arise during your prayer time, here's what you do. Handle the emergency first, calm yourself completely, then pray at the next available quiet moment that same day. Never pray from chaos. This month, over the next 30 days, you're going to deepen your practice. You're going to add one specific intention per decade that you focus on deeply instead of rushing through the prayers. You're going to pray the rosary slowly, meaning each Hail Mary fully, not racing to finish. The sign that it's working will be unmistakable. Problems that seemed impossible will start resolving. People who were hostile will soften. Doors that were closed will open. If you get to day 21 and you haven't seen any results, don't give up. Ask yourself honestly, have I been fully focused? Have I been praying from peace or from anxiety? Have I avoided the 3 forbidden times completely? Almost always, when someone doesn't see results, they've slipped back into one of the 3 forbidden times without realizing it. Adjust and continue. What you need for this practice, your rosary beads. If you don't have blessed rosary beads, get them blessed by a priest this week. A quiet space in your home where you won't be interrupted. This could be a corner of your bedroom, a chair in your living room, anywhere that can become your dedicated prayer spot. A journal and pen to write down what happens each day. You'll want to remember this journey. Optional but helpful. A candle or small sacred image to help focus your attention. You can get rosary beads at any Catholic bookstore or online. For the blessed ones, just bring them to any Catholic church and ask a priest to bless them. If you don't have access to a priest immediately, pray with the beads you have now and get them blessed when you can. God honors the intention of your heart. Father O'Connor prepared a complete 30-day rosary guide that includes specific meditations for each day, based directly on Carlo Acutis' notes and the experiences of the thousands who have used this method. You'll find it in the first pinned comment. The testimonies from people using it are absolutely extraordinary. People reporting healings, financial breakthroughs, restored relationships, and peace they thought was impossible. But here's what I need you to understand on a deeper level. This moment, right now, you reading these words, is not random. God is speaking to you through this. Think about it. How did you come across this? What made you read all the way to here? That's the Holy Spirit drawing you to something that will change everything. Carlo Acutis used to say that the Eucharist was his highway to heaven. The Rosary was his sword. He didn't just pray it, he wielded it with precision and intention. He understood something most Catholics miss. The Rosary is not magic. It's not about saying the words. It's about entering into the mysteries of Christ's life with full attention and letting those mysteries transform you. When you pray at the wrong times, distracted, emotional, multitasking, you're going through motions. When you pray at the right times, focused, peaceful, intentional, you're opening a portal of grace that will flood your life with the answers you've been desperate for. Carlo proved this. The thousands who have followed his method have proved this. Now it's your turn. Let me ask you 3 questions, and I want you to answer them honestly in your heart. How much longer are you willing to pray without seeing real change? How many more years will you stay stuck in the same problems, wondering why God isn't answering? What would your life look like 6 months from now if every prayer you prayed was actually working the way it's supposed to? The difference between your life now and your life then is simply this: praying at the right times with the right focus. That's it. Everything else stays the same: your faith, your devotion, your rosary. Just change when and how you pray it. Here's the urgency you need to feel. Every single day that you continue praying at the wrong times is a day you're reinforcing the very blocks that keep your blessings stuck. I know that sounds harsh, but it's true. If you've been praying at midnight for 10 years thinking it's holy, and that's one of the 3 forbidden times, then you've spent 10 years unknowingly strengthening the spiritual resistance against your own prayers. The good news? The moment you stop, the dam breaks. Margaret Ann saw it in 3 days. Jennifer saw it in 6 days. David saw it in 4 days. The accumulated prayers of all those years don't disappear. They were being stored up. When you finally pray correctly, it's like releasing a flood. This is your moment. God has been trying to get this message to you for however long you've been struggling. He's been waiting for you to discover what Carlo discovered. The path was always there. You just didn't know where it was. Now you do. So here's my challenge to you. Before you go to sleep tonight, before you do anything else, decide your prayer time for tomorrow. Put an alarm on your phone. Prepare your space. Put your rosary beads somewhere you'll see them. And tomorrow at that exact time, pray your rosary the right way. Focused, peaceful, alone with God. No distractions, no multitasking, no praying from anger or fear. Just you, your beads, and Jesus. And when you wake up the day after that, pay attention. Notice what's different. Notice how you feel. Notice what happens around you. The answers are coming. They've been waiting for you to open the door correctly. Write in the comments, Jesus, I trust in you, if you feel God calling you to take this step. And tell us, what is the one thing you most need Him to transform in your life right now? Your testimony could be exactly what someone else needs to hear today to find the courage to start. And if this resonated in your heart, share it with 3 people who need to hear this today. Someone in your life is praying at the wrong times right now and doesn't know why their prayers aren't working. You could be the one to set them free. May the peace of Christ, which surpasses all understanding, guard your heart as you begin this journey. May the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit pour out their abundant grace upon you now and always. Your transformation begins today. You're not here by accident. This is your moment.